iGEM team, and today we're going to present our project RAPID. RAPID stands for RNA Optimal Probe Influenza Detector. So first, I'm going to start my presentation with one question. Have you seen this poster before? If you haven't, please check that out on the wall of the toilet next door.
Yes.
Indeed, influenza, transmissible disease like influenza has caused a lot of deaths and troubles worldwide. In the 1957 Asian flu, 2 million people died because of influenza. And in the 1968 Hong Kong flu, it took away the lives of 1 million people. So, in recent years, according to the reports by the local governments, thousands of people suffer from influenza every year, and the number keeps increasing. So, but according to the questionnaire we distributed in the Asian area, most people cannot differentiate the symptoms of cold and flu, and some of them do not even know the difference between cold and flu. And also, half of the people during the survey said that they will not seek professional medical help when they get flu-like symptoms. So, influenza is so horrible, and current medical help cannot reach everyone, especially in diagnosis. So our solution is to create a cheap, convenient, and rapid tool to help the general public to do self-detection of influenza. So for weather, we developed an RNA optimal probe which lights up when binding to the viral RNA, and for dry lab, we try to develop a hardware and a software to analyze the signal so that the general public can detect the influenza by themselves. And here is a video showing how the users can use our toolkit to do self-detection of influenza. Our toolkit, RAPID, is designed to help you do self-diagnosis whenever you are. First, take out the probe and add your body fluid to that. And second, put the sample in boiling water for 5 minutes. Wait for 30 minutes before drying the tube. Put the tube inside our hardware. And switch it on, and take a picture through your mobile. After uploading the photo to our website, you'll see the diagnostic results immediately. In the following presentation, we are going to introduce our project part by part. Here I'll pass it to Frederick to introduce the wearable part.
Thank you, Jessica. So in the video you have just watched, you can see that there is a fluorescence, and the fluorescence comes from the RNA optimal probe. So currently, there are 2 major diagnostic methods for influenza detection, including RT-qPCR and molecular influenza diagnostic tests. Although they have different targets and functions, they also have some drawbacks. For example, the diagnostic test has low sequence specificity in terms of the RNA genome, while the RT-qPCR can take a lot of time, can be quite expensive, and when it is applied to point-of-care applications, meaning by the time of care when the patients have developed the symptoms, it is not very useful. So how do we develop a cheap, rapid, and sequence-specific diagnostic method? Our solution is to use RNA probe. RNA probe can directly bind to the target RNA by complementary base pairing and give out a fluorescent signal, meaning that it is sequence-specific. Also, when you hybridize with the target RNA, the signal can be immediately given out, so it is faster than other diagnostic methods. Lastly, the probe sequence is easier to design, as comparing to developing new antibodies, we just need to change the RNA sequence, and then the new probe can be produced. And in this project here, the fluorescence comes from an aptamer called the spinach aptamer. Aptamer stands for a strand of nucleic acid that binds to a specific ligand, while the spinach aptamer binds to a small chemical called AFHBI, and when it binds to a chemical, it increases the fluorescence level of it by hundreds of fold, as you can see from the photo. But how do we change the sequence of this aptamer in order to be able to detect influenza RNA? Firstly, previously research has shown that by removing one of the base pair, it will lead to the complete loss of fluorescence of the aptamer. And when we add a 22 base pair long probe region downwards of the truncated spinach, the fluorescence will only be restored when the target RNA hybridizes with the truncated sequence. So we firstly decided which genes we wanted to detect. We have chosen 3 hemagglutinin genes and 3 neuraminidase genes, which are our antigens that are important for subtyping. And in addition, we also have chosen a polymerase basic 2 gene, which contains a short sequence that is common in about 95% of influenza A genomes. And this is inspired by one of the medical experts that we interviewed, who suggested that we should develop a universal probe for all influenza strains as well. So after inputting the sequence into the block E designer, which choose regions that the probe can bind to sufficiently, and we have performed the screening by producing the probe and the 22 base pair long targets by in vitro transcription. After producing the RNA sequences, we hybridize them by heating and cooling, which means that it is simple for users who don't have much expertise. And to simulate the subtype negative and positive situation, we have used the aptamer only and the aptamer plus target samples for assay. So for the 7 genes we have chosen, we have screened 4 probes per gene. And from the color dots, we can see that there are some probes that will have a high and significant fold change comparing to the subtype negative sample. And although in the play reader it may not seem to be very useful, the fluorescence is actually quite visible under the imager. And we can see from the 3 examples photos that we have given. But for the probe to be useful, it has to be specific to the sequence that it is supposed to hybridize to. So we have hybridized the different probes with different target RNAs, and from the heat map, you can see that only the diagonal will have a high relative fluorescence intensity, while the non-corresponding aptamer target pair will have low fluorescence intensity, meaning that it is specific. And for the sensitivity, we have hybridized our probe with different concentrations of the target RNA. And from the pluripotent data, you can see that the limit of detection, which means the level of the aptamer-only data plus standard deviations, you can see the sensitivity is about 0.05 micromolar. And this is also visible in the imager, but the limit of detection might be higher. And in addition, we have also done other assays. We have found that the signal development will start after 10 minutes after heating and cooling cycles. And the signal will develop in a wide range of temperature, starting from 75 degrees and summits at 18 degrees, which means it works in room temperature for our users. Lastly, the probe also worked in different ion concentration in the nasal fluids, which was previously published. So it is very applicable to our users. But we have some, in our probe screening procedures, you can see that some probes have failed. And we wanted to improve the efficacy in the probe design in order for probes to be more efficiently and cheaply designed. So we have performed mathematical modeling.
So because there's no current model that describes the design for RNA aptamer probes, we would like to look into different parameters to see what affects the efficiency of the RNA aptamer probe. So what's the good probe that we're actually looking for, which will be the probes that requires induction, and also they have to be inducible by RNA. But in reality, that throughout the RNA aptamer probe that we've been screening for, we have found that some of them does autofluoresce, just like the example here. And we'd like to have a score for it, and we'll also consider another parameter which we found some of the RNA aptamer probe that's uninducible, which means even with the additional of the RNA, it still does not fluoresce. So we'd like to have another score to check for this as well. So for parameter 1, we would like to give a score A for it to check for the level for autofluorescence. And we've considered the rationale that our RNA aptamer probe originates from a autofluorescing aptamer spinach. by removing one of its base pair in its stem A as shown here to produce a truncated version so that it no longer fluoresces. And so for the optimal design, it should still be the stem A should still be destabilized, even adding the 22 base pairs. But for the suboptimal condition that we would like to eliminate or reduce, we expect the stem A will be reassembled. So we expect the fluorescent level shall be correlated with the probability of the forest base pair remaining in the stem A. So we try to calculate this probability by a bioinformatic program centrifugal and conduct linear regression for these multiple variables. And so we expect the higher score A, the more likely is the prop to have autofluorescence. So we can eliminate or reduce some of those candidates that are expected to have high score A. And for the next parameter, which is the inducibility, we've considered in the thermodynamics between the monomers and the heterodimers form. And so we've checked the parameters related with the thermodynamics. For example, the density value of all these components by the Vienna RNA package, which is another bioinformatic program. And we've also correlated these data, which is our actual experimental readout, that how much has the fluorescence been increased after the additional of RNA, and compare the score that we've calculated from linear regression. And so this is the curve that we plot. And as you can see here, the R-square value is not very high, but it's still far from random, so it shall still provide some insight for the rational design of RNA atomic probe. But of course, all this mathematical model still requires further validation and investigation by producing more probes with high or low score to further validate this model. So before it can be really being used in rational design. So to summarize, we expect our RNA probe should have these advantages among current diagnosis methods, including moderate to high specificity, short required time for diagnosis, low cost, and also it allows point of care usage. So I'll pass the time to Yan to talk about the tracer, which is our device.
As our project aims at facilitating influenza detection, we need a device to illuminate the fluorescent signals from RNA probe detector. The common tools for RNA fluorescence detections are blue light box and trace reader. However, as you can see from this slide, a blue light box costs around $200 to $500 while a trace reader costs over $2,000. And they are too expensive as our target user is the general public. Therefore, we make a small black box called tracer, and it can illuminate the fluorescent signal, and it costs around less than $10, which is much more affordable for the general public. And we make use of a activation light of wavelength 450 nanometer to excite the fluorescence emission, and the fluorescence signal can be collected by the mobile phone camera. And tracer can also do the calibration and focus assistance when capturing the image. And this is the mechanical design of tracer, and the labels indicate the position of components in the device. And let's see how we can capture the fluorescent signals from our RNA probe detector. When we turn on the LED, the light rays will become parallel after passing through the first convex lens, and it can reduce the noise. And if there is influenza virus, fluorescence will emit, and we can adjust another convex lens to help focus when taking photo using your mobile phone. And the image will be captured image will be like this. And we also evaluate the performance of tracer by comparing the results from tracer to that from trace reader. And this graph shows the relations between light intensity level and the concentration of green fluorescence proteins. And you can see the trend from tracer is very similar to that from trace reader. So we can see that the performance of tracer is comparable to that of trace reader. However, the image captured may be difficult for the general public to differentiate. Therefore, we construct a webtoon to help to do the classification. We construct a convolution neural network of 3 layers, and the model will evaluate by loss function. And after computing the loss, we can adjust the parameters according to the gradients. This is the model summary of our neural network. The loss function we use is boundary cross entropy, and the activation function we use is rectified linear units. And within the bracket, it shows the information of one neuron, and the whole picture shows the information of every layers. And we now achieve a 0.83 accuracy, and in the graph, the blue line shows the accuracy of the training set, while the red line shows the accuracy of the validation set. And we also optimize the neural network by shuffling the input list and normalizing the data to increase its accuracy, while resizing the input image to increase its efficiency. And this is the user interface of our webtoon. And users can fill in some personal information and upload the image captured by using tracer and their mobile phone. And they can submit to see the results. Yeah, they can submit to see the diagnostic results of influenza. And the webtoon and tracer combined, and they can successfully visualize and analyze the fluorescence signals from RNA probe detector, and we believe that it is a good solution to facilitate influenza detection. And let me pass it to Jessica to summarize our ideas.
So I'm going to briefly talk about our journey and what we have achieved. So first, our motivation is that influenza is very serious and causes a lot of troubles. However, current medical system cannot provide enough help in diagnosis for the general public. So, and currently there's no solution that can facilitate the general public to detect whether they have influenza or not by themselves. So, after careful researching, we realized that RNA aptamer can be a good solution to solve this problem. So we truncate the sequence of the RNA aptamer spinach so that it only gives out light when it binds to the viral RNA. And, however, since we are targeting the general public, the signal might be difficult for the general public to distinguish between the positive and negative signal. So this is the reason why we develop hardware and the machine learning-based software for the general public to detect whether they have influenza or not. And here is a brief summary of what we have achieved. We have achieved all the requirements of bronze medals and for the silver medal.